Hello, welcome back to the channel, and today I have a new series on the channel called Film Gutting, where we take a look. Well, the tagline for this series is where we cut open a movies throughout the ages to see what's inside. And for our premiere episode, if you couldn't tell by the crap over there, we're looking at The Shining.
You read my thoughts. You've got the shinning.
Oh, okay, Groundskeeper Willie. I mean, The Shinning. Fuck it, I'm just gonna use The Shining. The Shining was directed by Stanley Kubrick and was released in 1980, based off of the Stephen King novel of the same name that was released 3 years prior. Now, this film has a very interesting history and legacy, which is kind of why I wanted to cover it for today. In that, one, it had a very bad production history. Not in terms of how long it took to make. It actually came out pretty well on schedule, but just from a lot of the behind the scenes stuff on this movie, felt it was very much a lot of production issues. And when it came out, it was panned by critics. And at the time when it came out, it was panned by many critics. But it was quickly reevaluated and is now considered to be not only one of the best horror movies ever made, but one of the greatest movies ever made, of all time. But there's only one man who doesn't seem to think that. That being Stephen King himself. Because he famously hated this version, and frankly, still somewhat hates it today. Although his anger has tempered towards it in recent years, but from what I remember, he still prefers this version of The Shining by Mick Garris. He still prefers that version, even though that version's 10 times fucking worse. Even though that version's so bad. Anyway. But I wanted to see if all the hype for this movie was worth it. So, allow us to enter the hedge maze of weirdness that is The Shining. The movie opens up with some beautiful shots of a car driving up to the Overlook Hotel with some gorgeous yet haunting music playing over. Michael, can we use a tiny snippet of that music without getting claimed? Thank you. Now, both this haunting music and cinematography leads both us, the viewer, and the car to the Overlook Hotel and the interview, where we meet Jack Torrance, played with psychotic flair by Jack Nicholson, in what's probably the man's most iconic role. Even though this guy also has the Joker under his belt as well. But Jack Torrance, it's hard when both the character and the actor have the same name. But Jack Torrance is here looking for a job taking care of the Overlook during the summer. Winter! Sorry, it's summer it is the middle of summer while I am filming this. But Jack is looking to take care of this place during the winter. So this is where we meet Mr. Ullman. Now, before we actually delve into Jack's interview with Mr. Ullman, I want to quickly rewind back to when Jack is entering the Overlook. Well, entering his office, my bad. And if you can see, we're obviously in Ullman's office, there's a window, but if we, again, rewind to where when Jack's walking toward it, there is clearly a hallway there. That's probably the first instance of the Overlook Hotel's extremely weird layout. And yeah, that's been subjected to multiple theories. In fact, there's so many fan theories about this movie that there's a full like two or almost 3 hour long documentary just going through all of them, and it's just everyone in that documentary is on coke, like, I swear. But yeah, but that's probably the only time I'm gonna bring up the layout, and I don't even want to bring up some of the other theories in there. Like, there's theories about Native American genocide, the Holocaust. It's some crackpot shit. But I think that's probably the only time I'll ever bring up that documentary. Anyway, now during this interview, we learned some pretty interesting facts about Jack, like he was a former school teacher / brutal alcoholic. Fun. And of course, while both Mr. Ullman and a newcomer, who I forgot the name of, are pretty skeptical of Jack being able to do this, Jack reassures them that both him, his wife, and his kid will have a great time and make sure that this is all oakley dokley. But, and speaking of Jack's wife and kid, let's meet them. Where we cut back to their home, where we meet Wendy Torrance, played by Shelley Duvall, and Danny Torrance, played by Danny Lloyd. And God, I really should have cleared my throat for this. Oh, that's better. Anyway, and Wendy is just chilling on the couch having a smoke while... Wait, no, she's just misremembering. She's chilling in the kitchen with Danny having a smoke while Danny's eating a sandwich. And Danny, instead of being normal, instead talks as Tony, who Danny describes as a little person who lives in his mouth. It's just weird Stephen King shit, man. Now, it's apparently presented earlier. Now, in this scene, Wendy talks to Danny about the Overlook, and, well, as we see a little later, Danny has some, well, adverse reactions, including a slight preview for the Elevator of Blood. Now Danny's visited by an unnamed doctor, where Wendy has to tell this doctor that Jack, well, is kind of an asshole, if you didn't know that already. And that Jack dislocated Danny's arm, not broke. I think... I'm trying to remember. Did Jack break Danny's arm or dislocate it? I think it was dislocate. I'm having a brain fart here. But this little incident got Jack to stop drinking. And apparently, according to Wendy, he's been 5 months clean. Not bad. But we all know that's gonna change. Oh God. Sorry about that little camera mishap. Then we cut to the entire family in the Yellow Beetle driving up to the hotel, where we have some fun conversation. Play the clip.
We must really be high up. The air feels so different.
Mm-hmm.
Dad,
Yes?
I'm hungry.
Well, you should have eaten your breakfast.
We'll get you something as soon as we get to the hotel, okay?
Okay, Mom.
Hey, wasn't it around here that the Donner Party got snowbound?
I think that was farther west in the Sierras.
What was the Donner Party?
They were a party of settlers in covered wagon times. They got snowbound one winter in the mountains. They had to resort to cannibalism in order to stay alive.
You mean they ate each other up?
They had to, in order to survive.
Jack.
Don't worry, Mom. I know all about cannibalism. I saw it on TV.
See? It's okay. You saw it on the television.
Wow. Apparently seeing cannibalism on the TV is okay? Well, it's definitely a lot nicer than... No, is it... Actually, that's probably worse than what people are seeing on TV nowadays, actually. Yeah, I was trying to construct a joke about how that's nowhere near as bad as stuff on TV today, but I couldn't. Now, when they get to the Overlook Hotel, Wendy and Jack have a tour of the place before it closes, where we see the entire hotel. Which I want to bring up another behind-the-scenes tidbit about this movie is that there is no real one hotel that they shot on for this movie. There was many hotels that they shot in and entire sets that they had to build. So there is no one hotel that you can call the Overlook, and even then most of those sets were taken down. But it's a unique tidbit, that behind the scenes tidbit that kind of adds to this movie's whack as fuck layout to know that it was filmed in multiple locations and sets. But during this tour we also meet Dick Hallorann, the Overlook's cook. And we also meet, and Danny is just having some good old fun in the game room where he meets these two. Wow, they're scary. Yeah. But everyone meets back up and Danny meets Hallorann. And Hallorann offers to take Danny to get some ice cream, where we learn about the Shinning.
You read my thoughts. You've got the Shinning.
And about its magical powers. Where Hallorann uses his mind to talk to Danny to see if he wanted ice cream. Now, during this kitchen scene, I do want to bring up two things. One, obviously the plot, where they talk about the Shining and how it can be used to contact people who have it. But mainly Kubrick's tendency to reshoot literally every single scene over like almost like 100 times. And I want to bring it up with this scene of Danny and Hallorann eating ice cream, because Kubrick reportedly shot this scene over 127 times. And Dick Hallorann's actor, Scatman Crothers, apparently broke down in tears because he just did not want to do this, because he was more of, I believe, a musician than an actor. But apparently Danny Torrance was fine with the whole thing. But that's just, and trust me, that's only the beginning of Kubrick abusing his cast and crew. But yeah, moving on, we now cut to the first night, where the entire family's settling in just right. Jack is trying to write while Danny's on his big wheel. Where I do want to bring up two things from behind the scenes. One, the camera work because using the at this time at least, Steadicam, which to those who don't know is a camera technique where the cameraman has a pole that's mounted. Again, I could be speaking out my ass. I don't know entirely how it works, but it's a camera that's mounted to a person, and it's supposed to be, you know, more steady. It's supposed to be a lot better than handheld, and it's supposed to be more steady than handheld and faster, but and smooth. It's supposed to be just a smoother form of camera work, of moving camera work. That's basically what I am trying to say. But we also have the amazing sound design for this. Also, the autofocus is not having a good time with this, where Danny's riding over hardwood floors and carpets. And the sound design is really good at providing a nice sense of echo and dread to this whole thing. But then we cut to the next day. There's a lot of those kind of cuts. Yeah. It does slow the movie down a little, but where Danny and Wendy are chilling out in the hedge maze, while Jack just stares out at them.
Woo, we made it. Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah.
Wearing, oh god, the turtleneck! Ah! Although I can definitely say Jack Nicholson can rock that turtleneck, though. Now, I do want to bring up some other thing about... So, if Michael can bring up the shot of where it's Danny and Wendy in the hedge maze from, up top. Michael, can you bring that shot in?
Woo, we made it. Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah.
So pretty.
Yeah.
I didn't think it's gonna be this big, did you?
No?
Thank you. But, that shot was accomplished by Matt, because that center of the maze isn't actually in the hedge maze. It was actually on top of a skyscraper, and I don't know where, but that they had to mat into the model of the maze, because the shot in question is a shot where Jack's looking down at the hedge maze model, and he sees, and then it cuts to the real maze with Danny and Wendy in there. So, impressive camera work and editing. Not as impressive as the editing on this video. Anyway. But then we cut to the next day. No, there's a lot of scenes in this movie that I'm just gonna skip, because they don't really mean much. They don't have a lot of behind the scenes info, nor do they have plot relevance. They're just kind of there. So I'm kind of gonna just skip to the next important segment, where where Danny decides to go into room 230. I was trying to do a finger 7, just fuck it. Michael, flash the numbers. 237. 237. But where we meet, where Danny is grabbed by the throat off screen, because they can't show child abuse on camera. Fair. And the next time we see Jack, who is sitting at his writing desk asleep, when Wendy comes in and wakes him up from his horrible nightmare. But then Danny comes in with some bruises on his neck from whatever happened in room 237. Which, fun fact, the room number 237 is different in the book and in the miniseries. It's actually 217 in the book, because that's the room King stayed in when he went to the Stanley Hotel, which is what inspired this story. So, yeah, it's actually... But I don't know why Kubrick changed it to 237. There's probably a reason, but I don't know. Then Wendy immediately blames Jack. But then moments later, off screen, because I don't know if Danny just didn't want to say it or something. I don't know. I don't know why this is off screen. Wendy decides to come to Jack and say, there's apparently a guest in room 237. So Jack decides to head up there. And what he finds is sensual and sexy. That being a naked lady. Michael, make sure you blur this. Make sure you blur the nudity. I don't want to get demonetized. But in the mirror, Jack spots something. It's not a beautiful woman, it's actually an old naked lady. And Jack quivers in fear as he gets the hell out of there. And then lies to Wendy saying he didn't see anything. That's fair. You don't want to accidentally admit to doing infidelity. But then we cut to a few days later. Things aren't, going the best. When Wendy decides to come see on what Jack was working on. Now, let's see what is Jack been working on this whole time?
How do you like it?
Wow. That is, Jack, I don't mean to cramp your style or anything, or be a bit of a critique, but that's really repetitive, Jack. It's literally just the same line over and over again. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. It's really repetitive, man. You should probably work on that. But Jack apparently does not like critiques, as he comes in furious as fuck, yelling at Wendy about what hospital and what to do with their child. Now, this is another example of Kubrick being really fucking abusive. And let's just open the entire Pandora's box about that. Mainly between Kubrick and Shelley Duvall. Because, my God, was that whole thing just really fucking sad to learn about. Is apparently, this scene of Jack tormenting Wendy while they're walking up the stairs.
Has it ever occurred to you what would happen to my future if I were to fail to live up to my responsibilities? Has it ever occurred to you? Has it?
Stay away from me.
Why?
I just want to go back to my room.
Why?
I'm very confused. I just need a chance to think things over.
You've had your whole fucking life to think things over. What good's a few minutes more gonna do you now?
Stay away from me. Please. Don't hurt me.
I'm not gonna hurt you.
Stay away from me.
Wendy,
Stay away.
darling, light of my life, I'm not gonna hurt you. You didn't let me finish my sentence. I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in. I'm gonna bash them right the fuck in.
Stay away from me. Don't hurt me.
I'm not gonna hurt you.
Stay away from me. Stay away. Please.
Stop swinging the bat.
Stay away from me.
Put the bat down, Wendy.
Stop it.
Wendy, give me the bat.
Please. Stay away.
Give me the bat.
Stop it.
Give me the bat.
Stay away from me.
Stop swinging the bat.
Please stop.
Give me the bat.
Stay away.
Wendy,
Stay.
give me the bat. Give me the bat. Ah, God damn!
Was, I think, shot around 60 to 80 times. And throughout the entire course of the movie, Stan Lee put Shelley through so much, like, hell, to the point where she was like pulling out her own hair due to the amount of stress she was under. Now, later she would come out and say that her performance in the movie wouldn't be as good if Stan Lee didn't push her to this. So she at least, and both of them understood that they were doing what they both could to get this performance right, but like, it still feels a little fucked up that Kubrick would push her to this amount of stress and shit. It still feels a little fucked up. But moving back to the scene, Jack is furious with Wendy, telling him to give him the bat. Give him the bat. So Wendy gives him the bat, straight to his dome, as she knocks him out and drags his ass to the freezer, where Jack wakes up later to find out it's locked. But he has a talk with a ghost that I completely forgot to mention. Did I forget to mention the bar scene? Wow, I'm dumb. Oh, might as well order a drink while I go back in time. Hey, Michael, rewind. Where he meets a butler named Delbert Grady. And Jack immediately recognizes him as the former caretaker that he was told about in a scene when I forgot to mention that as well. And Jack correctly tells Grady that he chopped up his 2 daughters with an axe and then did some home dental work. But Grady denies these and tells Jack that Jack has always been the caretaker. Jack is confused by this. But Grady gives him some advice with his family to correct them. So, cutting back to the freezer, Grady is at the freezer door and tells Jack that if he doesn't correct his family soon, well, then he's gonna fail. So, with some encouragement, Grady lets Jack out of the freezer. Then suddenly we cut back to Wendy and Danny. Chilling, Wendy being fast asleep in the room while Danny's doing weird shit. What you doing, Danny? Oh, you're writing red rum on your door. You know, I guess that's one way to keep yourself entertained. But, oh, and you're holding a knife at the same time. Okay. Yeah, Wendy, you might want to take that kid somewhere. But when Wendy wakes up, she sees what red rum really means. And what does it mean? Murder with the backwards R. I hate backwards R's. Oh, although I guess the murder part's pretty bad too. But then, suddenly, without warning, Jack enters the room bearing a fire axe. Pretend this is an axe and not a feather duster without a feather. He starts hacking at the doors. Wendy and Danny hide in the bathroom. Now, I do want to bring something quickly up before we get to you-know-what. Where, after this movie, Jack Nicholson was always decided... A lot of the roles Nicholson played after this movie was the crazy guy, or the loud guy. And I don't know if necessarily Nicholson hated that, or loved it. It just seems like he got a bit typecasted after this. But, back to the movie. But Jack keeps on coming. Now, luckily, Wendy is able to get Danny out of the bathroom window so he could slide down a snowbank. A large snowbank. Like, Jesus Christ, look how fucking large that is. But Wendy isn't so lucky, as Jack opens the bathroom door with his axe and yells...
Here's Johnny.
Yeah. That is probably the most infamous line in just anything. Which is odd why it became so famous, seeing as it was completely improvised by Nicholson on set. Seeing as it wasn't in Kubrick's original script, nor was it in King's original book. And it was completely made up on the spot by Nicholson. And the line's become a household name ever since. Which is pretty impressive for an improvised line. But then Wendy decides to just knife his hand and Jack gives up like a little bitch. But then he realizes that a new player has entered the game. Dick, he's arrived at the hotel because Danny called him earlier, using The Shining. But Dick's victory is short-lived, as he is, axed out of the story. With a pretty damn good jump scare. It's a pretty good jump scare. So, with nowhere left to go, Jack starts chasing after Danny into the hedge maze. Danny's fucking pissing himself scared as he's running through. As Jack starts whimpering at the pain of the cold. But he's determined. He's got determination. He's like an Undertale character. But Danny decides to do a 400 IQ chess move. And decides to cover up his footprints and hide. When Jack reaches the end of the trail, he does not know where to go. when Jack finally gives up in defeat. And the next morning, we see that Jack has frozen to death. Press F in the chat. Press F in the chat for Jack. Michael, flash Fs on screen. And Wendy and Danny are able to escape on a snowcat. And the movie ends with one final shot showing us that Jack has indeed been the caretaker all along. Anyway, time for the verdict. Should you watch Stanley Kubrick's The Shining? Of fucking course you should. It's by far one of the most iconic movies ever made. So of course you should give it a watch. Damn it, camera. So of course you should give it a watch. It's, like I said, it's one of the most iconic movies ever made. So, there you go. That's the first episode of Film Gutting. I hope y'all enjoyed. And next episode will be on Night of the Living Dead. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you enjoyed my content. And I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye. Here's Johnny!